Hello, everybody, and welcome to CEVO Season number 5. Thanks for sticking with us through that long wait for those of you in the Twitch TV chat, and thanks for joining us to those who have bought the ticket and are watching here in the DOTA TV client. My name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow, and I'm here bringing you Sneaky Nick's Assassins versus Root Gaming, and I'm joined today by Way at Way Dota. How you doing, Way?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you tonight, Gorgon?
I'm doing really well, despite the fact that we had this long wait due to an enormous hat patch that came through, and then the Dota 2 network going down like twice while we were trying to get players in the lobby. All things seem to be working out now, and we should have a pretty solid game tonight. Not only is Root Gaming one of the better teams in terms of performance, both this season and in past seasons here. Of course, they previously were known as Vasa V Gaming. One of the better performing teams that we have here in the CEVO, but also Sneaky Nick's Assassins, of course, one of our better performing teams. And today, they are playing with two semi-stand-ins, players that kind of play with them fairly regularly, but aren't officially really on the team. That would be TC and Way Too Sexy, formerly of Liquid. Or I guess TC is of Liquid, and Way Too Sexy, formerly of Liquid.
Yeah, we've got a throwback Thursday to 2013 Liquid right now. I'm excited to see them play. I mean, we haven't gotten to see them play in a while. It's basically Liquid plus Ush right now.
Right.
And it'll be exciting to sort of see the band back together for one set of games.
Yeah, that was a team that a lot of people loved, despite the fact that they weren't necessarily a global Tier 1 team for this level of play. They absolutely killed it. This is, an open tournament that's not... We don't front ourselves to be a Tier 1 tournament. We're a tournament with good teams and good play, but at the end of the day, we're still an open level tournament, and we have a lot of mix between like Tier 2 American teams and high tier community teams, and that's really where we like to, see ourselves as, or what we like to promote. And Team Liquid, certainly 2013 Team Liquid is a team that is at least a Tier 2 team. So we should.
I would give them I'd be a little bit more generous than that. I think they were definitely Tier 1. I mean,
I would agree.
They went to TI3.
Right. I would agree that they would be Tier 1 team, not the top of the Tier 1, but certainly in the Tier 1. Some people might disagree. Right. They're certainly a respectable team, and regardless, why don't we go in and go into the draft and see what Fluff is going for here and what Baloney is going for down there on Root Gaming. So the Faceless Void coming out for Root, no surprises. Viper and Earthshaker coming out for Sneaky Nick's Assassins. The Viper is not super uncommon. The Earthshaker is really popular right now. Earthshaker also here, the Sneaky Nick's Assassins like to run a fair amount. So no real surprises there. The only real surprise out of this, to me, is that we don't have SNA around. Obviously, TC taking SNA's place. I guess the Earthshaker does often get run by both Fluff and Ush in the mid lane, so it could go either place. What do you think of these bans that you're seeing?
I mean, I think it really just speaks to the meta. We see the same bans most every game, at least for teams that are, sort of taking things seriously, or unless they have a pocket strat to sort of beat these things. I mean, Death Prophet TI4 really proved her dominance. People sort of saw her as a really strong late, early, and mid-game hero. Late, early, not late.
She's really strong all the time.
Once you got a bit further into the early game and then through the mid-game, she was seen as a very strong hero, but a hero that sort of fell off a bit in the late game. But, I mean, the physical damage from Ghosts is just incredibly strong. We saw some crazy stuff like a Refresher Orb being picked up, and it's just hard to team fight into that no matter what sort of items you have really going for it. BKBs don't do anything for you. The only thing that really saves you is a Ghost Scepter, and I mean, your carry doesn't want to buy a Ghost Scepter, so It's definitely a really strong hero. Lycan and Doom, I mean, hell, they're Lycan and Doom. No one wants to see them, no one wants to play, and they're going to be gone.
They're in the about to be nerfed club, because every single game, pick ban.
Brewmaster, interesting. He's definitely strong. He controls mid-game team fights like almost no other hero. I'm a little surprised more teams are just opting to straight up ban him instead of pick him themselves. But I guess, pick order and whatnot makes it so that if you can't get him, you definitely don't want to play against them.
Yeah, the Brewmaster, I'm not that surprised to see him being banned out by by the Sneaking Assassins because the Skywrath Mage is already on the other team. And you don't really want to pick up a Brewmaster up against that really nasty silence and burst potential.
Very
but
true.
You don't want to let your opponent have it either. So, you know, though I guess the Brewmaster came out, the ban came out before the Skywrath Mage came up, but the Nyx Assassins had the opportunity to get that Skywrath Mage, decided they didn't want him, decided they'd rather go for a slightly less in-meta Viper Earthshaker. That should do fairly well for them. I mean, Viper and Earthshaker have a lot of potential to control game pacing. The Viper has a fair amount of push with the Nether Toxin, has the ability to nullify a lot of the magic damage, and really kind of weather the storm. Earthshaker has the ability to stop creeps. With the Fissure, has the ability to create unpassable terrain, which really impacts team fights if you have a strong player who has a good sense of positioning. And the Snake and Nyx Assassins, they do some things well, they do some things not so well, but one of the things that they're typically very, very good at is positioning and coordination. So I would expect that Earthshaker to come in as a very strong hero for them.
Yeah, you're very right, and I think it just speaks to the experience of the team playing together for a bit, and despite pulling in some stand-ins for some games. But I mean, even those stand-ins are players who have experience playing with the rest of the squad. A lot of these guys have seen top-tier play. Some of them haven't quite made it to TI, SNA and Ush and the like, but I mean, Fluff, Way2, Mike, they've all been there. And so on just a personal level, they've got that ability to really know what they're doing on a very deep level, and playing together as well. They have a lot of cohesion.
Yeah, and Snake and Nyx Assassins, to be fair to Root Gaming, they have been playing together for a long time at the community level, but when they were Boss V, they had a fair number of issues with their roster. They ended up trading around a lot. They ended up dropping players 3 or 4 times last year through the winter/early spring. Meanwhile, Snake and Nyx Assassins, this is a squad that Ush has been playing with Mike for 8 or 9 months now, at least in an official capacity.
A long time.
Yeah, and in an unofficial capacity, I assume that they've been playing together for much longer than that. And of course, as we've already said, this is TI-13 Liquid for the rest of the squad. So the Snake and Nyx Assassins, they have a long history of working together. I would expect that to work to their advantage. The Ancient Apparition going to come out for Snake and Nyx Assassins. That is going to help quite a bit, once again, with that pacing and control. The ability to give a little bit of a counter push to a lane from across the map. The ability to force a team fight to sort of dissipate, especially against that Faceless Void who can just try to open up on a team fight very hard. An Ancient Apparition who's not caught in a Chronosphere can turn that around pretty effectively. Void, until the later portions of the game, probably will not be able to just blow up more than one hero in the Chronosphere at a time. Skywrath Mage might be able to get another one in the Chronosphere, but that means that you ostensibly should still have 3 heroes to fight afterward. And if you manage to grab that Ice Blast on top of the Chronosphere while it's going, you can still swing that fight around just on the back of a nice Ice Blast. So AA, kind of a less popular hero right now, but I think that it's a pick that could work very well for the Sneaky Nyx Assassins.
Yeah, absolutely a great secondary support. Also pairs really well with Earthshaker stuns, whether it's an Echo Slammer, a well-timed Fissure that catches a few. That Ice Blast follow-up is just so nasty. And on Root Gaming side, I mean, a lot of people sort of see this Void Skywrath Mage combo as just an instant win. There's nothing you can do about it. You get Chronoed, you get Mystic Flared, and you just die. But, I mean, we can see from the win rate at TI4 that in spite of how popular this combination was, the win rate wasn't super high outside of EG. And so, as idiot-proof as it may seem, teams did still struggle to pull it off as perfectly as they should.
Right, well, it seems idiot-proof, but the fact of the matter is, the Faceless Void has a big task ahead of him, that he has to land an ultimate that hits 2 heroes so that he can be attacking when the Skywrath can be hitting one. It has to hit 2 heroes who are separated enough that Skywrath's ult doesn't split between them, and he also has to not hit the Skywrath, and he also can't hit it in a place where the Skywrath will walk into it while trying to cast. So he needs to make sure that the Skywrath is in range of his ultimate, won't walk into his ultimate, won't walk into the Chronosphere, won't be in the Chronosphere, and all the heroes from the other team are positioned appropriately that the Skywrath can get a nice cradling ultimate on just one hero so that they blow up, which is, it's not the absolute most difficult combination in the world to land by any means, but it is certainly not an instant win by any means. I think even the Witch Doctor with the Faceless Void is easier to work with because you don't have to care at all about your positioning inside the Chronosphere. If Witch Doctor's not in there, you just drop the Death Ward, and he can target whomever he wants from outside. It does not matter. And also the range of that Death Ward goes all the way across the Chronosphere, so you don't have to worry about which side of it is Skywrath on, and will Skywrath be in range of dropping the Mystic Flare. There are other combinations that nuke just as effectively as the Faceless Void Skywrath Mage. The reason that this combination works so well is because Skywrath Mage provides so much more for the playstyle that Root Gaming is looking for.
Yeah, especially the silence and the damage amp coming out from Ancient Seal. I mean, with his recent buff, the previous level 3 is his level 1, basically, and I mean, that's a huge change. The damage amp and the long silence is just such a pain for heroes in team fights like the Brewmaster. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Root decides to run this Void as the off lane, which has sort of been the thing to do, but also proven to be difficult for some teams other than EG to run, but some teams have had more success, or if they'll put him in a safe lane farming position. But we do see them pick up an Axe, which is definitely a different pickup.
Yeah, Axe is, ironically, Axe is a hero that you don't really see picked up that much outside of these two teams. Root Gaming loves the Axe, at least they did through the last season. Snake and Nyx Assassins have two of the best Axe players in the Americas. Ush and SNA both play an absolutely extraordinary Axe. So, for any other matchup, you might expect, like, oh, an Axe. That's really out of the ordinary. But for this matchup, it's really not that surprising, and it should be a lot of fun.
I feel like the combination with the 3 melee could be difficult to pull off with the Chronosphere. You could look at it one of two ways. If Faceless Void and Axe do their thing, you can basically sort of chrono the cores and call the supports, or the other way around. So you can really take the whole team out of the fight and not have to necessarily rely on the perfect Chronosphere because you have the Axe call to back you up. But at the same time, if it's not perfect, Axe can't run it and do anything. Wraith King can't run it and do anything. So there's a lot riding on the boys' Chronospheres this game and making sure that they are on point.
Yeah, positioning is absolutely key for those Chronospheres, as they always are. But now, especially, whenever you have a lot of melee heroes, it is really important to make sure that you're landing those Chronospheres in the optimal positioning. One nice little bit of synergy, there's the sniper, so that will help out with that little problem, that he'll be able to sit in the back line and just tear through his opponents. I do want to say that there is a little bit of synergy here with the Faceless Void getting the Chronosphere, and then the Wraith King will try to swap in or trade in so that he can get that ultimate off and catch any stragglers who did stay and try to fight. Make sure that they're not able to get away from that Axis call, get away from the Sniper and the Skywrath Mage. There's a lot of burst potential coming out of Root Gaming, and there's a couple of kill-confirmed style moves. I'll be interested to see how much sustainable damage they actually manage to bring up through the mid-game, because until that Wraith King gets something in towards a semi-carry, and the Faceless Void gets up some sustainable damage, really all they're working on right now is burst. They got the Skywrath Mage, the Void. Sniper's got that big burst damage, but he's not going to be able to, like, stand in the middle of a fight and do it. Axe is pretty sustainable, but he can't do it on his own.
Right, and there's a huge amount of team fight coming out from the Sneaky Nyx Assassins. We haven't talked about their draft a whole lot, but with Tidehunter, with Echo Slams, with Ice Blast, if you get caught in the wrong position, that stuff hurts.
Oh, yeah. I really do like Nyx Assassin's lineup a lot. But one of the reasons that I think we haven't talked about it as much is because it looks like it naturally synergizes a little bit better. Just the fluff and stuff sitting on the Earthshaker is going to be able to open up with a nice stun. You have the Tidehunter going in and doing a counter initiation if you do have a Chronosphere. There's a lot of sustainable damage coming out of the Viper and the Nevermore / Shadow Fiend. And, of course, you always have the backup of that support Ancient Apparition. So why don't we go ahead and run through our players real quick. We do have TC making it sick over here on the Viper. Way too sexy. He's going to be chilling out on the Ancient Apparition here. Coming to the mid lane, it's going to be Fluff and stuff. Shaking it up on the Earthshaker. Taking the mid lane, it's going to be Ush on the Shadow Fiend. And in the off lane, it's going to be IX Mike on that Tidebringer. And we already have a disconnect. So that obligatory early game pause is going to come out while we run through our Radiant side.
Wouldn't be an amateur tournament without a pause, right?
It wouldn't be any tournament without a pause, really. I mean, I cast literally at every... Like, I did TI qualifiers in every region. I don't think I did more than 2 games without a pause there.
It just wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right.
Yeah, it's, you need a moment to catch up, a little zen time for you, a little you time before you go into it. Bit of a disconnect. Your boy JC was having some trouble earlier, which is one of the reasons that we had a delay on this game to begin with. He was having some trouble with his connectivity, getting that patch, so no real surprises that he's having a little bit of connectivity trouble right now as well. So, wait, why don't you go ahead and run through Root Gaming, and we'll talk about the warding.
Happy to do so. We have Tubby the Fat on the safe lane axe. Looks like he's going to be farming it up. Your boy JC on the support Wraith King with his partner in crime, Flying Zebra on the Skywrath Mage. The mid sniper, every pub's worst nightmare, played by Mr. Lycus. And on the off lane Void, deciding not to go to the hard carry position, is Tolera.
All right, so there isn't a whole lot in the way of warding out right now. Taking a look at our items, we do have Fluff on the Earthshaker with their wards. They've already come out and placed one, expecting presumably some potential for an aggressive trialing with that axe, I suspect is why they went up and put up that ward so early. They expect maybe there's going to be some cutting or maybe there's going to be some really aggressive positioning, as there often is with an axe. And they want to make sure that they get that ward out fast. Now, Fluff and Stuff is walking down, and presumably he's going to try to put up a ward down here, which is the go-to position for the Sneaky Nick Assassins. They almost always put a ward up down there. That would leave them without a rune ward, though. So it is possible that we're going to see a ward up here or here, just to make sure that there is a rune vision available. Taking a look at the vision coming out of the Dire side. Oh, I'm sorry. I was totally running through Radiant side wards as though it were Dire side wards. Reverse everything I said. There's already the ward up here for the Sneaky Nick's Assassins, very close to where I had pinged, so as soon as I saw that, I realized that I was off my rocker. This is, yeah, they like to place wards anywhere in this box. It's their, almost every single game, that they are on Dire, they will ward somewhere in that box, which is why I was so confused. We do have some vision here for the Void. I would not be surprised to see some warding come up here from Nyx Assassins, expecting some aggression out of the axe, but as soon as they see that the axe is down bottom, they're not going to worry about that safe lane warding whatsoever.
Yeah, and they actually threw Tolera 2 sets of tangos, just assuming that he was going to get harassed by this Viper pretty decently, which, well, he will. Viper is a really great one-on-one hero, and with AA back to just sort of stack and pull and do his thing and get his levels, I don't think that Viper, Mr. TC, is going to have too much issue up against this Void in this off lane. But, yeah, I really like this ward. And it looks like we have some player issues, maybe Root hoping to pull somebody in. It looks like your boy JC has more than just patch downloading issues, some connectivity in general. But yeah, I like this ward a lot. It sees the lane, it sees through the jungle for any supports trying to rotate and getting a kill on this offline Tide Hunter. But also a really nice ward coming out from Root, seeing that pull camp to make sure that nothing too sneaky happens. Making sure that AA doesn't get his free reign of the jungle as Viper just spits his poison on him.
Yeah. Go ahead and just keep talking while I'm doing admin chat here, trying to play double duty.
It looks like your boy JC has actually reconnected to the game, so hopefully that will be the end of connectivity issues, but hey, it's hats. We know that that can't be true. And the game will unpause, and we will get rolling. 30 seconds till the creep spawns, but they're still trying to figure out exactly what's going on. We see Fluff and Stuff. Where is he going to put this ward? It looks like he just might be... Nope, not camping the rune. So we do have a rune ward coming out from the Sneaky Nyx Assassins, as well as this somewhat aggressive, somewhat defensive, so I guess we'll just call it a neutral lane ward. Some good positions, hopefully it doesn't get dewarded. Skywrath does have a couple of sentries on him, but is more than likely betting that they're going to be warding his jungle for no pull camps, so we'll see if he manages to take out these wards in one stock standard and one a bit of a different position. We have a DD rune on the bottom, probably going to be picked up by one of the Root Gaming supports.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Skywrath coming down here, grabbing it.
And it looks like Way2's going to be... I'm not really sure what he's doing. He looked like he wanted to go all the way bottom, but it looks like they just might stick with these dual lanes. Yeah,
for the time being, Sneaky Nick Assassins really like to do a lot of roaming with their supports, and sometimes it doesn't always work out for them because they end up roaming and finding themselves level behind, but especially Fluff. Like, I have not seen Way2 stand in with SNA that many times, because this is kind of a recent development that he has left Liquid and is standing in with SNA an awful lot. But with their normal lineup, they usually have Fluff rotate quite a bit, and then the other support will join, usually like the 4 to 6 minute mark, try to get a kill, and spend the rest of the time up in the safe lane.
TC playing actually pretty far up on this creep wave against the Void, trying to gets the walk out, so good zoning cues, but he was actually taking some melee hits that he didn't really need to take, but he will just pop his tango and get back up to where he needs to be, and it looks like Fluff and Stuff is actually going to stay true to his support instincts and roam all the way up top, so we will actually see defensive trialing.
Yeah, he's going to try to come up behind here, actually, and grab a Fissure for First Blood. He's waiting for there not to be high ground vision from Tolera, And the one problem with this is, of course, there is going to be a time walk. So not only does he need to land that fissure, but he would need to land that fissure, and they would need to do enough damage to kill him before he could time walk over the fissure, because fissure's not going to stop the void from getting away. And I think he might be realizing that now, because he was standing there for a moment, but now he's going to rotate back toward mid.
Yeah, AA just wasn't quite there in time, and also doesn't have cold feet, so the follow-up stun is not even enough.
Yeah.
So,
and you would even need the cold feet to land before the Earthshaker, so that would even give it away a little bit to Tolera. If Tolera had a sense that Fluff and Stuff was missing and could be doing something nasty, as soon as that cold feet lands, he's out of there.
Fluff's just going to decide to stack up this big camp in the jungle for Shadow Fiend to raise down a little bit later for some quick levels. Radiant Shadow Fiend usually considered a little bit better just because you have really easy access to this medium camp.
Yeah.
But stacking this hard camp is something that Dyer really likes to do with Shadow Fiend. He can flash farm so well with those raises. And it looks like we're going to have a party in the mid lane, both of the gaming supports, and this could be a very sad Earthshaker. He does pop the smoke, but he's up on the high ground, so it looks like he's going to make it out.
He is going to be seen now, but it's going to be a little bit too late, and Fluff and Stuff is going to try to run away from your boy JC, who is trying to chase him out. He's going to be cut around by Flying Zebra, and now the body block should be forthcoming until the stun is there. There is the Wraithfire Blast, some additional damage coming out of Flying Zebra as everybody collapses from every lane. Nice stun coming out of Fluff and Stuff, trying to get himself out of trouble, but he's not going to be able to. IX Mike now coming down with an invisibility rune, and moving in on Lycus, trying to get a return kill. There's some auto attacks of Shadow Fiend is also coming up. There's going to be a very nice raise, but there's not going to be enough as your boy JC comes around with enough for another Wraithfire Blast. They are going to have to back out. Tolera is going to use the slow and get in for the body block. IX Mike taking a fair amount of damage here. This is a Wraithfire Blast, and there are 4 to clean up this kill. That's going to be a 2-0 going the way of Root Gaming to start off this. Pretty nice considering the fact that they are dealing with a little bit of lag issue out of their Wraith King.
Yeah, that was a really excellent first blood. Fluff and Stuff just finding himself far too deep in enemy territory. They did have to rotate the Void from the top lane, but to be fair, Tidehunter rotated from the bottom as well, so we'll call it even Stevens on that one. In the meantime, TC just going to poke the tower a little bit, continue his farm, doing well, but actually behind the Axe right now on last hits by a good 7 or 8, so...
Yeah, the Axe has been more or less uncontested, because IX Mike did rotate out of this lane, and there's not a lot that the Tidehunter is going to be able to do. We are getting a little bit of static off your mic, by the way. I don't know if there's something you can do in your Windows setting to turn it down, and I can turn it up from my end to try and minimize that static, but it has started up as of late, and it seems to be getting louder. So
okay, let's see what I can do here.
And while you're messing around with that, just to make sure that we have the best audio we possibly can, we are going to go back up here to the top lane and watch TC try to harass out Tolera a little bit. It looks like we might have another party going on down here in the mid as your boy JC is rotating in. Fluff and Stuff is nearby as well. Fluff, by the way, still sitting at level 1 because he's still roaming. He's actually gotten 0 experience so far. If you're going to have a hero with 0 experience, the Earthshaker is a good one to pick, but even so, you don't really want 0 experience at 5 minutes. There's going to be the stun, and it might save IX Mike, but probably not. The call is there. Tubby the Fat's diving very deep. He'll start taking some tower aggro, but not before sending the watermelon back to the patch.
How's this for Mike? A little bit better?
It is a little bit better, yeah, especially when you're talking. When you're not talking, we're still getting a little bit of like in the background, but I think the viewers can probably handle it.
That's strange. Sorry about that. And it looks like Taller might drop in the top lane. He does have a time walk. Is it going to be enough? One more hit.
Oh,
he takes him
not
down.
Quite, yeah. Oh, TC might be going down for it, though. There's this concussive blast. There should be an additional nuke coming out here. Yep, and the silence with one last auto attack. A nice rotation out of Flying Zebra, and Root Gaming is really killing it so far in this early game, especially considering, like, I had gone on the record and said I think Nyx Assassins, I feel like their lineup should synergize a little bit better, but they're not quite to the stage of the game where their lineup is going to be synergizing that well. And Root Gaming just does have a lot of very strong early game with the Axe, the Wraith King that can do that double Wraithfire Blast stun now that he's gotten some stats up, and of course the Sniper whose damage and headshots in the early game can be absolutely mesmerizingly atrocious. They are doing very well, and they're starting to get themselves a bit of momentum that hopefully they can springboard off into the mid-game.
For sure, for sure. And Root Gaming just proving that the manly heroes do in fact pay off in the end. Sometimes it's just as much about guts as it is about the glory at the end. Tubby the Fat diving very deep for those kills, but paying off. And yeah, Root definitely surprising me a little bit. We'll see if the same transitions into the mid-game once the Nyx heroes get up their levels and get up their ultimates, but I mean, like you said, Earthshaker, he is just about halfway through level 2 right now, so I don't think he's going to be hitting 6 anytime soon. Tubby the Fat diving super deep on IX Mike, opting to turn around and run away, not wanting to dive through 2 unkilled towers, but proving that he is not afraid to go where no man has gone before.
Yeah, well, he has been there before, as it turns out. That's a return trip, because he has been rocketing himself behind that tier 1 near that tier 2 all game long, and that is sort of the prerogative of an Axe. He can go wherever he wants, and Nyx Assassins really haven't been punishing him for it. They haven't been rotating anybody down to help out Mike, except a little bit too late every time, so... And
he's got a
6.5
minute blink dagger right now.
Oh, that is very rough to deal with if you are Nyx Assassins. Tubby the Fat, as a player, is a go big or go home sort of guy. He really likes... I like to think that that's where the fat comes from. You know, he likes to just make it big and make it flashy. If it's not going to turn out that way, he's just going to crash and burn. And I actually... I know the guys from Root Gaming a little bit, and you know I hang out with them sometimes in chat and whatever, and they complain to me that I flame Tubby the Fat a little bit too much, because a lot of games, man, he loves those big flashy plays, and it really punishes him sometimes. It's really working out this game though. Look at him stealing the stack that was built up, presumably to try and help get somebody caught back up, and Fluff and Stuff coming up trying to defend it is going to be torn asunder. Here we go. Ush is going to be coming in, trying to get Tubby the Fat. He will get it with a very nice raise. Now he's going to move on to Flying Zebra. Meanwhile, on the south end of this engagement, TC is going to come in and do a little bit of damage to your boy JC, who's going to immediately TP out. Way Too Sexy is trying to take out Flying Zebra now, but the slow is not enough, and it's not going to latch with the stun either. And it does look like Ush is going to wipe out as many of these stacks as he can before Axe comes in and steals the rest of them. It does look like another counter ward is going to be happening here as well, as soon as the Radiant can get back up to take out this ward here, which is a brand new fresh ward. And that will be kind of painful for the Nyx Assassins.
Yeah, that's a really rough ward to lose when it just goes down like that. A nice return kill coming out from the Assassins on the Axe, who was getting a little bit too out of control, but I mean, they lost their support in the process, so it is what it is. Flying Zebra might pay for this ward with his life, though, if they can get close enough. The Cold Feet does go off, but he's just a little bit too quick thanks to those boots. Ice Vortex goes down, but he's just going to run right out of it, and he's going to run away from safety. He's going to take that ward without giving anything in return.
Yep, and there's going to be a deny in the tower as well, so any chance Essence had from getting that easy tower and catching up is now gone. The rest of the tower should be defended a little bit better. And they're 2,000 experience in deficit, 3,000 gold. Certainly not the worst deficit that you could ever have at this stage in the game. We see a lot worse very frequently. But the momentum that Root Gaming has right now, specifically the more even distribution that they have in their levels, is going to help them a lot through the mid game. Because Fluff and Stuff is not going to be able to provide very much because he's so far behind. And he's not going to be able to catch up at this stage. Like, he can basically only catch up if his team does really well against high-leveled heroes and he's nearby. So he's still only level 3 at 10 minutes.
Yeah, this is a classic example of when a roaming support just can't get his job done. And it's really no fault of his. The heroes from Root, aside from Sniper, are pretty difficult to kill. Void has a really good escape with Time Walk. Axe is just very naturally tanky, so you really have to lock him down to get anything. And without managing to get the kills that he really wants, Earthshaker just doesn't do anything if he's not in the lane. He manages to pick up his boots now, but he's still only about halfway through level 3, and he's a long way off from 6. Never mind a Blink Dagger.
So despite the fact that Axe has been so active and diving so much, he is 22 kills off of a perfect score for the early game, not including catapults, out of his lane. He is right up. He's keeping up with the mid Shadow Fiend, who has cleared out at least 2 camps, 2 stacked camps in the jungle. Granted, I guess the Axe also got one of those camps to himself, and he got the large one.
Oh, that bash.
Yeah, that was a perfect first hit bash from Talera, and dunked away. Tubby the Fat with the haste rune as well. There's really nothing that Ush was going to do there. Meanwhile, we are having an engagement down here in the mid lane, and it looks like a Viper's going to go down for a Skywrath Mage, and possibly a Lycus as well. Sniper doesn't really have any way to get away here. He does have phase boost, but he can't go anywhere. They're going to actually spend the Ravage on this, which seemed completely unnecessary. It looked like they had it anyway. But Mike, I guess, wants to make sure that the kill is secured so that they can get the experience up. He himself sitting at level 7. Fluff now sitting high end of level 4, so he is making some pretty good progress. But they are about to lose their next tier 1 tower unless they get up here and do some defense, and it'll be difficult for them to defend considering they just blew now with this AA ult, that will be every ultimate in the book.
Yeah, they've got nothing left to defend this tower. Axe is just going to skip the creep wave and take it out so that the Radiant creep wave will come and push the tower yet again. They still have a catapult. Earthshaker's here, but Fluff is feeling a bit weak compared to what he's facing down with a Faceless Void, an Axe who is really just balling out of control, and your boy JC, Wraith King, a naturally tanky hero. Usher's going to look to the bottom lane to hope to get a little bit of farm, and the levels are coming slowly for SNA, for the Sneaky Nyx Assassins. SNA, Sneaky Nyx Assassins, same thing.
Yeah.
One's the hero, one's the team. You guys know what I'm talking about. The levels are coming. Shadow Fiend did pick up a Midas, so that's going to be some good gold and well-needed experience in his pocket as well. But we'll see if Midas Gaming is enough to... I don't want to say turn this one around because it's not like they're in an insurmountable lead right now, but it's definitely going to be tough. And here comes that combo.
Yep, instantly blown up. Ush has been having such a trouble with his souls lately. I mean, when he came to this bottom lane, he had 18. Now he's down to 13, which is, at this stage in the game, almost unacceptably low. His damage output is very dependent on those soul counts. Now, TC, taking a fair amount of damage. He is going to throw an ultimate to try and kite out Cubby the Fat, and they should be able to clear this up, and no!
Ooh.
The TP is going to get him away just in time. As the last attack flies, he manages to get away.
That point booster putting in work.
Yeah. Well, it was either the point booster or the chainmail. You can blame it on one or the other, but either way, he should have his blade mail up pretty soon here, which is even more trouble for the Nyx Assassins, considering how much damage output they are reliant on and how long it'll be before any of them are able to get up BKBs. Viper still doesn't have a mechanism, by the way, at 13 minutes. Meanwhile, you've got Sniper sitting on top of an Aquila and a Yasha. So comparing their relative net worths, the Sniper is now way ahead, 1,600 ahead of the Viper out of this mid lane.
Yeah, Ush is really going to have to be the savior of this game to bring them through to the mid game and let them survive. The Midas, like I said, is definitely going to help. He is kind of trading back and forth between top of the last hits between himself and Axe. So if he can get the farm that he needs, and if he can get a few kills in a team fight without getting blown up too quickly himself, he could get to the point where he becomes a threat, but as of right now, if you just call him or you chrono him in Mystic Flare, he's just not tanky enough. He doesn't have a BKB, and he'll die as easy as any of his supports.
Yeah, with the Sniper and with the Faceless Void, who now has a Mask of Madness having just come out, these towers are going to be just absolutely decimated. And unless the Nyx Assassins can counter-initiate perfectly, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to get out of their base at all in about 5 to 7 minutes. So they are going to try to do this initiation. Tubby the Fat doing a call on the Ice Mite to prevent that Ravage, and he will get it off before he goes down, but it's not going to be quite enough to turn the fight around. Now the Viper coming in, TC doing some auto-attack damage. The Wraith Fire Blast is going to go out on him, and now the Void is going to throw up the Chronosphere. He can't really choose on the target. He ends up deciding on Ush. The mechanism having just been made, it's going to come out. Sniper ulti is going to land on Ush. Ush is going to get the Shadow Race onto the Axe. Axe will be going down. Now Talera trying to get one more damage, one more kill before he goes down, and that's going to be a trade. Shadow Fiend's last ultimate taking the life of his killer. That self-vengeance moment ends up being 2 for 2, which that could have gotten a lot worse for the Nyx Assassins, but it did cost them all of their big AoE ultimates.
Yeah, it definitely could have gone worse. They did manage to pull, I guess you would call them the cores at this point, between the Void and the Axe. But, I mean, they lost their own really only hope in the process, and Shadow Fiend at this point just can't be dying. He's just going to get further and further behind.
Yeah. So, Ancient Apparition scouting out a little bit with the ult. Ice Mike is going to be clearing out some Ancient stacks here. At least he's getting to these before they get taken by somebody. This is going to help quite a bit in terms of his quest to get a Blink Dagger, which he's pretty early on that quest. And, I don't know. He's going to need this plus 4 or 5 minutes of not dying before he's actually going to be able to get up that Blink Dagger. Compared
he's
to
got
the
about
6-minute Blink Dagger of the Axe.
He's got about 3,000 more Wild Boar Tusks to collect before he's going to get that Blink Dagger up and running. It's a long quest, but hopefully these Ancient stacks will accelerate him a bit.
All right, so your boy JC coming up here and just scouting out, waiting. He is waiting on top of a ward, though, so the Nyx Assassins know exactly what's happening here. Some comparable warding was up down here. There was a Radiant ward right by the Ancients, but it was counter-warded, presumably for the safety of IX Mike, who is coming down to those Ancients to make sure that he is getting something in way of levels and farm. Taking a look at our level stack, the Wraith King is hurting quite a bit. He's now the lowest level. He does not yet have his ultimate. That is your boy JC, who's been having some lag issues. And I suspect that maybe he's been playing a little more defensively than he would like to be and outside of experience range to make sure that he doesn't lag out and die, which is kind of unfortunate for him. But you know what? The Nyx Assassins could use any advantage that they can get right now because the rest of the level's going pretty well in favor of Root Gaming. There's going to be the Root Gaming TP reaction. The Chronosphere is going to go up, but here's that AA ulti. It is going to narrowly miss, and now Tubby the Fat coming in, getting a nice call onto two of them as your boy JC tries to run in. Now they're all going to retreat. Your boy JC blinking away with that nice shiny little Kellen's dagger that has come up, and the Nyx Assassin's still here. Still sitting on top of the Tidehunter Ravage, and still sitting on top of the Earthshaker ulti, which is now finally up. So
yeah, a nice pick on that Void, a good Fissure into Ice Blast combo, but like you said, there is still the Reliquary, there is still the Echo Slam, there is still the Ravage, so if Root get a little bit too close and a little bit too clumped up, this could be a big fight in favor of Nyx.
Yeah. There is not a lot that Root Gaming can do all clumped up at this moment around a tower. I mean, they have the Axe that can do a call, but that's a very short period of time for them to get the positioning involved. They don't have the Wraith King's ultimate yet, which means that they're not going to be able to try and get that nice slow and use tower aggro to whittle down their opponents. And of course, the Void just threw in his cards, trying to make a big play, and it got taken down by the river. So IX Mike is coming back to these Ancients as expected and trying to farm up that Blink Dagger. He's now at about 1,500, so he should be there pretty shortly. I think maybe about 1930 Blink Dagger coming out of him, which certainly not the best time, but considering they've managed to quell a little bit of the aggression, I say that as Ush is picked off. There it is. Tubby the Fat almost going down. In fact, he very well could go down if there's going to be a stun coming out of Fluff and stuff. He can't quite get in range. He had been in range, but ended up moving just slightly the wrong direction. The A ult is not going to be enough, and now the Urn should be enough to heal the Axe back up outside of danger zone.
Yeah, only a level 1 ult coming out from Ancient Apparitions, so just not enough to do the work. But on another note, Lycus on the Sniper actually picks up an S and Y rather than going for the somewhat more traditional Maelstrom Mjolnir build, so pretty confident that the game's going to end sooner rather than later. Fluff and stuff getting picked off on the top lane. Dunked. Axe brings the Axe. Goodbye, Earthshaker.
You know, I moved my camera away from there fully expecting Fluff and stuff to just back up because he doesn't have any teammates near there. He knows there are at least 3 people there. In fact, he's got great vision across this entire jungle, seeing them buzzing around like angry bees. I do not know why he decided to stick his fist into that hive. There's not even a tower to defend or anything. Did you see what was going on up there? Because I totally just faded away looking at this bottom push, expecting that to be where the next action happened.
I think he just got out of position in his jungle. Maybe he wasn't paying attention to his mini-map, wasn't watching the warding, and got caught by 3, and not a place you want to be when you're only a level 6 Earthshaker with boots.
Yeah, taking a look at our net worths at the moment, Sniper's on top, followed by the Axe, about 1,000 behind. About 1,200 behind that are the first heroes from the Nyx Assassins. So they are having quite a bit of difficulty. Taking a look at our level stack, we are still sitting on... it's a little bit more evenly distributed, but 4 of the top 6 are sitting for Root Gaming. The supports for the Nyx Assassins are having quite a bit of trouble getting forward. And the ultimate might be up. No, it does look like the Wraith King is going to do that. Forgo the ultimate at 6 build because he is putting more into the Wraith Fire Blast, and he had earlier gone for stats. So deciding not to go for that ultimate, presumably until he's 1 level away from his level 2 ultimate. And the reason that some Wraith Kings decide to do this is because it's just not worth giving up the ultimate in their estimation if it's going to cost 5 minutes to get it back. It's better to just wait 5 minutes until you have the level 2 ultimate, and then you have it much faster. You don't have to wait for that level 2 ultimate after that 5-minute respawn.
And it looks like he is going to run into the entirety of Sneak and Nyx Assassins. The
just
big ice
holding
blast
still,
coming out.
too, actually. And meanwhile, on the south end of this, we are having a big fight. Nyx Assassins are going to get a very nice Ravage. Flying Zebra is going to be tried to chase down. And, okay, big Chronosphere is going to come out. Fluff and stuff is going to go down. That is going to be the Wraith King, who just leveled up his ultimate as he came into that fight. So that was actually a very nice play on his part. Now Ice Mike is silenced out. He's taking a lot of damage. He is going to be dunked out. That started as a good fight for the Nyx Assassins, especially considering your boy JC had not yet decided to level up his ultimate. I guess in that fight, he decided, okay, it's worth my level 7 to throw that ultimate down and not die here. That does mean when he gets his level 2, he very well may not have it back yet, but he might not even get that level 2 before this game's over at this pace.
Yeah, I mean, it's a smart thing that a lot of Wraith Kings do. Just not doing it and holding the skill point, and at this time he actually just leveled up, so it worked out. But holding the skill point until the ultimate's actually going to do something, because otherwise you're just dying twice for no reason and wasting a really long cooldown. But
Right.
as the rest of the game sort of mimics, the fight looked good for Sneaky Nick's assassins, and then it wasn't.
Yeah, and it was just really good awareness by the Wraith King, knowing, okay, if I expend this point right now, this ultimate won't be a waste. Because that fight did look like it was going the way of Sneaky Nick's assassins, and he said, all right, I can either just die and hold this point for when my reincarnation will actually mean something, or I can put all of my chips on the table and expect this reincarnation to turn this fight around. It was a tough call for him to make, I'm sure, and he made it in the heat of the moment. It turned out very, very nice for them. They got a 4-man wipe, and now they have all the outer tier towers except one, and in addition, an Aegis on Tubby the Fat, who has been just rolling through the Nyx Assassins.
Yeah, and he's picked up his Aghanim Scepter as well, so he's going to be blinking and dunking on the entire team with... Doesn't even matter if he hits it or not. He'll call whatever. He'll do it just for the movement speed on a creep. Why not?
Yeah. So, Talera is just going to come up here with a Mask of Madness and farm out. There's not a lot the Nyx Assassins can do about this, other than maybe try to move 3 or 4 in to try and gank him. I don't think that they'll be able to do it with just 2. Although Fluff and Stuff is getting in position. It looks like the Viper is coming around as well. Fluff wants to try this gank. There is more support here than he realizes, though, as the Wraith King is sitting nearby just outside of vision range. And he's now in vision range because of that ward. I suspect that Fluff is just going to hang out there until Talera leaves, because there's not a lot of reason for him to move on that at this point.
I think I figured out why Root is in such huge command of this game right now. I just watched Talera farm that entire creep wave, and he backtracked like 10 or 11 times in a row. And so the RNG gods are in his favor. It's just not even fair.
Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes RNG just rolls in your way. Your boy JC scouting out, trying to find anybody. It does look like Talera is potentially going to be moved on here, as the Aeol is going to land on top of his head. And from behind, TC is going to come in and try to make the play, but the immediate TP away coming out of Faceless Void. Good awareness. And Fluff and Stuff still hanging out by the secret shop, not coming out for that. Could have canceled that TP if he had been a little bit faster. Instead, yes, he's just kind of hanging out. Presumably, they're going to try to bait the Viper now, but high ground siege is on Root's mind, so I don't know that baiting the Viper is going to work out quite as well as Fluff is hoping here.
Yeah, Fluff really should have gotten there a little bit quicker. He knew that the Ice Blast was coming through, but hindsight is 20/20, I suppose. Void gets away without having to do anything more serious than popping a teleport scroll. And the slow push and the slow siege is probably just going to come out middle. Max shrapnel and max range coming out from Sniper, so he can sit back, and a Deso.
Yeah,
so
that Deso is a big key factor in that as well.
He can sit back as far as he wants and just poke this tower down without any real worry about being killed or initiated on.
Yeah, it will be a little bit slower because of the high ground miss chance, but Sniper doesn't really care too much about that. There is no high ground miss chance on his shrapnel, so he will be able to whittle the tower down that way. And so far, TC, okay, I'm starting to think Fluff and Stuff is just AFK, because he's been over here for a solid 4 minutes, trying to bait this Viper, presumably. They're going to give up a tower for this slow siege, but a tier 1 tower in the off lane that really provides absolutely no potential for TP reactions for a tier 3 tower in the mid lane is an easy trade to make.
Yep, nice deny coming out from Mush on that tower. Not as much gold going the way of Root, but it does open up the barracks to the creeps and snipers poking. So I'd say that's a pretty fair trade. I wouldn't be too upset about that if I were Root.
All right, so the Nyx Assassins on the back of the tower have managed to pull the lead a little bit back into their favor. They're down to about 8,000 deficit. They're at around 5,000 experience deficit. But at this stage in the game, this mid lane is going to be largely dependent on Fluff's fissure blocking. By that, I mean his ability to keep creeps and units outside of his base by just landing fissures across his entryway, which can be a really, really painful way to extend games that you're behind in. But at the end of the day, it's just buying time. You need somebody out there farming, and so far they haven't really been able to get enough map control to do that.
Yeah, and in the end, you've got to do what you got to do to win the game. But the items are slowly coming out for Nyx. Ush picks up his Blink Dagger after his BKB, so they've got a little bit more initiation power. After something like a Ravage or a Blink Echo, he can go and throw his Requiem of Souls and do a big amount of damage. Earthshaker, nah, he's still nowhere near the Blink Dagger, but Tide has his. Viper picks up his Aghanim Scepter, so that's going to make these team fights a lot nicer with that slow coming out a lot more often. AA is about... Ooh, he's actually only 500 gold away from his Aghanims as well. Still searching for that level 2 ultimate, but when that comes and the Aghanims comes, it's going to be hurting a lot more. So If they can stall this out for a lot longer, their team fight is still really, really strong.
There is a lot more gold potential for the Nyx Assassins on the map right now than there is for Root Gaming, because Root Gaming has already farmed up all of their opponent's towers except one in terms of the outer tier towers, whereas Nyx Assassins have 4 towers that they can try to tap for resources at the current moment. The question is, can they even get out of their base to knock that down against such farm disadvantage? And we're going to see an engagement here as Root does come in. Talera is trying to find a good Chronosphere. Ike's Mike is going to get into a little bit of trouble with that silence. And he's going to throw out that Ravage, but it will not hit anything with the BKB coming up with Talera. The Aegis is going to be spent, and there's a very nice Chronosphere splitting on one side and the other. The Wraith Fire Blast is going to go out, and Ush will be going down. Now TC has been silenced out. He will be going down. There are no buybacks from the Nyx Assassins, and it looks like a mid-push is on the mind of Root Gaming. Fluff and Stuff does have one fissure that he can try to block them out with, but because of the range and the ability of the Faceless Void to jump over it, I don't know that it'll really make that much of a difference one way or the other. He is going to throw the fissure down, but not even far enough that the creeps can't get in. One will go around, and that will be enough for them to start to do damage onto these racks.
Yeah, and the cores of Nyx are dead for another 30 seconds with no buyback, so this is going to be a really easy set of racks, and possibly, too, if they decide to rotate top, and
they are going
honestly, I think they can without too much issue.
They know
Ravage
all
is
the
down.
ultis are down for Nyx, except Fluff's. And Fluff hasn't landed a single one this game. He doesn't have a Blink Dagger. In fact, he doesn't have anything. He's got a net worth, like an actionable net worth of 450 because of boots.
Yeah, not in a good place to really do anything too effective. Shadow Fiend and Viper are going to be coming back up, but honestly, if they can just protect the sniper enough that the heroes of Sneaky Nyx Assassins can't get to him, he can poke down these racks and these towers all by himself. The rest of them just have to stand next to him and look menacing.
Yeah, and that's basically exactly what they're doing. There's going to be an ultimate coming out of Viper onto the sniper who does not really care too much. It's just not that impactful. It's only level 2. Sniper sitting at level 17 on top of a ton of extra health because he did go for the Sanjin Yasha. In addition, another Ogre Club. So he's got a lot more health than a sniper has, sitting on top of 1,500.
Yeah, actually pretty tanky. That SNY, the Sanj doing a bit for him as well. On top of the move speed, he does have an Ogre Club. And in comes a big Chronosphere. It looks like Ush just might drop to Toller himself.
And TC going to drop on the tail end of that as well. Fluff, or excuse me, Ike's Mike now in a bit of trouble. Fluff having already gone down. And Ike's Mike is actually just going to be ignored. Trying to make himself trouble, but it doesn't really matter. He's going to blink in, and now they're going to deal with the pest, I guess. They didn't really want to, but since he's going to make such a pain out of it, they're going to chase him down, and the GG comes out of Fluff. Wow, that game 1 was pretty dominatingly in favor of Root Gaming. Considering this is basically a TI credentialed roster, that's very impressive.
Yeah, a really excellent job by Root. You know, they had their game plan, they know what they wanted to accomplish, and I mean, most importantly, they carried it out, and that can be the most difficult thing to do. Yep. You know, barring me stating the obvious here. Yes. But especially against a team like Sneaky Nyx Assassins that has so much experience and just has the individual play where they can, you know, win their one-on-one lanes. They have the team fight coordination, and you know, Root proving that they are a force to be reckoned with and that they can carry out their game plan as well as any top-tier team.
Absolutely. So, my name is Gorgon the Wonder Cow. You can catch me at GotCowDota. I'm joined by Wei, who you can find at WayDota, WAHDOTA. And we're both writers over at High Ground TV as well, so if you want a little bit more from our analysis, you can go over there and find our writing. We'll be right back with game number 2 here at CEVO Season number 5, so please do stick around.